Hey my witches, it's Witchy Wednesday and I'm back with the YouTube Pagan Challenge. So I've missed a few weeks, so I'm gonna just do a quick kind of catch up. The first one was asking about group work and if you've ever worked in group work, what you think of it. And I worked in a group for a number of years. I think if you followed my channel before, you've kind of heard the story of how I started with on my own, and then I kind of found some friends and we were all interested in it and we were learning together, and so we've practiced this together for it's almost been 20 years, except in the past few years we've kind of not practiced as much, just people move away, people have kids, all sorts of stuff, it gets busy, but we do still try to get together, especially sometimes for Sabbaths. And I do enjoy group work. I think it's very different than solitary work, and that's why I think it's nice to have both, like have your solitary practice and then also have group work. I think it's definitely something that can enhance and help you learn and help you grow, but it's not for everyone. I think that it's not necessary. If you don't have people to practice with, that's okay. So that's how I kind of feel about group work. Open groups, like I have gone to public ones. Like it's one thing to practice in your coven where you're familiar with everyone, but I have gone to public ones and they're quite different as well. Because you have a large group of people that don't always know each other. And I find those are more just sort of community type events that allow people to kind of get together as a community and celebrate. So I think of those as a little bit different and not so much, as magical working, but more of a community working, if that makes sense. The next question was about initiation and self-initiation and what you think of it. And personally, like I started back in the 90s, and in the 90s we didn't have, the internet wasn't the resource it is now. I mean, it had just started really. And so it's not like now where you have, all sorts of videos and you have Facebook groups and all that kind of stuff. We had to go to the bookstore and find books to learn from. And it was really hard to find people that knew anything about it. And there was, especially in that time, all this controversy around, some people were saying you can't self-initiate, but there was not enough teachers to go around and most people didn't know how to find them. So I think if you're in a specific practice like Gardnerian or Alexandrian and you're in a group that's very formal and has a structure that where you need someone to initiate you, that's fine, that's one thing. But if you're an eclectic witch, or you're sort of self-taught, I don't think there's anything wrong with self-initiating. If you feel called to this religion, if you feel called to this spiritual path, then nobody else has the right to tell you that you're not. And to me, that's something that the gods call you to. So other people, they can have their opinion, but they don't know. And so I think it's perfectly acceptable to self-initiate. There's not enough teachers even today to go around, I think, for all the people that are interested in learning. And the internet's a great resource and stuff, and it's good for getting together with people online, but still you may not have a physical teacher in your area, and that's okay. So if you feel like it's time to initiate yourself, then I think that's fine. I think only you are able to decide that, and that's my opinion. And I know some people disagree with that, but that's okay. That's their opinion. The next one was about books of shadows. Now, I'm terrible about keeping a book of shadows. I really am. I write things on piece of papers. I keep them all over the place. I have a book here and a book there. I'm just terrible about writing them down. But what I'm thinking of doing is I got a big binder and I'm thinking of just dividing it into different things and just putting the information in there. So stay tuned. I think when I get more on my way with it, then I might, kind of show people. So anyway, that's my idea for the Book of Shadows. The next one was about magical correspondences. And I know I'm moving through these fast, but I'm just trying to catch up on stuff. Magical correspondences. So I kind of go with some pretty traditional magical correspondences. For example, some people do East and do swords as fire and wands as air, and I don't do that. I'm pretty traditional. I've used this kind of standard, Western esoteric, correspondences. Like to me, East is about the intellect and it's associated with the suit of swords. South is fire and associated with wands. And then you have West with, cups and water, and North with earth and pentacle, of course, or, stones, whatever you want to call them. So those are pretty traditional correspondences that I follow. I'm trying to think of anything else. I know some people kind of follow a Celtic correspondence where east is white, I think it is, south is red, west is gray, and north is black. But I do the east is yellow, south is red, west is blue, and north is green. And then also too, some people will start their circle in the north. I start my circle in the east. So there's slightly different correspondence traditions, but that's the one that I follow, sort of the one that's most common. It was the one I was taught, and it's the one that I feel most comfortable with and makes sense to me personally. But I think whatever works for you correspondence wise, like if in your head you're like, no, I think of it this way, is what works for you. It's your personal spiritual practice. So it's good to learn these things, but you have to learn which one you feel comfortable with. And this is the one that makes the most sense to me. The next question was about magical food and spiritual diet. I think that you can definitely put magic in food. Definitely cooking can be a magical art in itself. I mean, you think of all the correspondences with herbs and stuff that you can put into dishes and different spices. You can definitely put magic into your food and into your cooking. You can even just put magic into your food by blessing your food before you eat it and thinking of everything that you put in your body as a sacred gift to the temple that is your body. So when you think of it that way, it's a little easier to make healthier choices about what you're putting into the temple. Now, I say that, but I am a big fan of junk food, and so I know I don't always eat the healthiest, I have to say, but I do definitely try to balance it out. So that's a good way to think about it. I've heard of people just even blessing the water that they drink. Imagining that the water is filled with love before they drink it, and I think that's a really great magical practice with food. As for having a specific diet, that's up to each individual. Some people feel that are vegetarians, and that's their personal choice, and that's something definitely like I've been looking a little more at, because I definitely agree with it, but I've been in the habit of being an omnivore for so long. I'm trying to kind of break out of that a little bit, but we'll see. But I think if you just even honor the animal before you're eating it, like acknowledge, and plants too, that was a life, and that life died in order that you could sustain yours. I think that's an important spiritual practice around food as well. But I think when it comes to diet, that's a personal thing. And I think it's something, again, everyone has to decide for themselves. So that's my thoughts on the YouTube Pagan Challenge, the last month of questions. I know it was pretty fast, but I was just trying to get all caught up. So let me know what you think. What are your thoughts? What do you think is a spiritual diet? Or what do you do with, do you bless your food before you eat it? I want to know. I want to know what other people are doing. What do you think about selfish initiation? Is that valid? Not valid? What are your thoughts? It seems to be less of a controversy now than it was back in the 90s, but I don't know. Maybe it still is in some circles. So anyway, I will see you guys all next time, babies. Have a good day.